Well, this is as far as we got today. So, ran out to the hardware store and got our bolts for the cylinder, the slave cylinder for the clutch. And then got everything bolted together as far as the bell housing and then to the engine. And drilled out the holes on the oil pan. There's still a couple that didn't quite line up, but overall I think with the gasket in there as well, it should be more than enough to seal it up. And we're going to call that good from now. I'm just going to throw it in there tomorrow because I'm tired. So check back in with you guys later. And we're back. So we started off our day by cleaning up our hellhole some. I know it still looks like ass, but we cleared out quite a bit of space in our little work area here. I'm sure if you guys have watched any of our videos, it was like, I don't know, some horrific gauntlet that you had to pass to do anything. But anyways, so we got our our fenders in place. They're held out right now with like one bolt. I'm gonna go through and tidy everything up after we get this in. So I gotta torque the oil pan. I let it sit overnight after hand tightening it, snugging it with the gasket and some RTV in there just for, you know, extra maybes and safeties and all that. So I'm pretty sure that we're still going to have to get underneath the car at some point, pull the drain plugs on this thing and check the fluid. I haven't done that yet, but for the time being, there's a bunch of other stuff that we need to do. So we're going to try and get this bad boy back in place. So we got to get our engine mounts back on the block there. Slide this in place with the engine, the transmission mount in there. That'll assist us for when we get the sheet metal to closing up the transmission tunnel, which is going to be another couple of day job, I'm sure. And we got to get those measurements right. We have to have at least 10 inches from the windshield to the transition point for the transmission tunnel, so we have to add like another inch or so here. We got to make sure we get that right because that's in the FD rulebooks. And the last thing we want is to get all the way through this and then have tech say, "F you, sir," because you didn't pay attention. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this, get this bad boy back in place, and then start working on some of the other engine details, you know, valley cover, knock sensor, test fit the intake manifold, see how it fits, what we need to do. I want to try and keep the truck rails. Truck rails are like the biggest rails you can get, and they're free because I already have them. So we got to figure out the fitting and, you know, the return setup and all that stuff. Anyway, now that we have all this space to work with, it should make that much simpler. And then once we're done with that, we're going to get the front bumper and the headlights in place. Zip tied action, of course, because there is really nothing to mount anything to at the moment. And then we'll have we'll be able to fabricate our tube front end by, you know, placing cheater pipes in here that I've yet to bend, and just figuring out our angles to get where we need to get. So we really don't need that old front clip over there because we can pretty much figure out everything we need to figure out going from our base plates that we welded in place here forward inside of the natural structure of the WRX. I don't intend to do a body kit or anything like that, so I'm not concerned about any changes in fitment or whatever. The biggest thing I can see myself doing is maybe a wide body down the road, but given how difficult and how much effort went into doing that one over there, I'm not in any kind of a hurry, especially because this fucker here has 4 doors. So yeah, but seeing as, you know, the condition of the body, it may be something that we consider. This side is fine, but this side over here still requires some repair because we had some oops, sorry for the lighting, some rusted out portions that had to be cut away. And now I have those panels, but maybe it's just in our best interest to just, you know, do the cutaway, but we'll see. Anyway, the whole point of this I mean, it's gotten way out of touch, but I'd still like to keep it as simple as possible in some regards. So we'll get back with you guys later. Good morning, guys. So we've been out here all morning, and you wouldn't believe that a few brackets could eat up half of your day. And I mean like 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever. So anyway, we were wanting to use these stock rails and not buy aftermarket rails because these truck rails flow a whole lot more fuel than those itty bitty aftermarket aluminum ones ever will. And, you know, I hear a lot of complaints about them leaking and not whatever. It's probably more user error, but whatever. What do I know, right? Anyway, these things were free, but seeing as they're made for a truck intake, and I'm not going to be using truck intake, it's too tall, we had to close this gap in here. They don't go all the way down, not even close. Fortunately for us, our truck injectors do fit into this intake. It doesn't have some kind of a weird step in there. They just go all the way down to the bottom and that's it. Anyway, so we cut out these strips here, and we started by measuring with the digital calipers. I have them around here somewhere. Oh, here. If you're doing any fabricating, you're going to need one of these. These things are very, very useful in just copying, you know, ODs that can be transferred over to IDs on here, as well as depth or height on the bottom end here. Very useful. So I use this to get the height from the intake mounting surface here to the bottom of this plastic, right? But I wrote that down. Then I added an inch to each side for mounting tabs, and it was like 6 inches, more or less, give or take, right? So we cut out our 6 inch long, 1 inch wide strips, bent one side, then laid them in here to see whereabouts we wanted the hole. It doesn't have to be exact because we have all this space back here to play with, so it could be forward a little bit if we wanted it to, or tucked against it, didn't really matter. So we get that first hole done, and then go back out and bend it, and then bolt it back into place, and then just punch with the spring-loaded punch. Also another tool you should have, if you don't know what that is, this here right here. So you want to mark your holes out with the marker, you know, get it centered, and then you give it a little punch, and it's spring-loaded. And the force will leave a little dimple or indentation so that your drill bits don't walk all over on you and mess up your measurements. But anyway, so then we punched it on here, took back off, drilled it. So it was a lot of steps for each one of these individual brackets, and they are made of 1/8 inch steel. So they're pretty stout, and these things are they're not moving. What is that? Oh yeah, fenders making all that rickety noise. These fenders, they're just sitting on here, and they're held in by 2 bolts in the door frame area. So there's nothing out here yet. We haven't gotten to doing the tube frame part yet. Just been so busy with all this assembly. So anyway, the next thing for us to do is going to be to figure out how to cut or replace this crossover tube and turn it into something that's more manageable. This bend here would almost be perfect if I could cut it and then put in like a flare of some kind. I don't know if they have like some push lock or twist on, like shark bite type things that could screw on the end there and just make a straight crossover. Hell, they may even have a pre-made, you know, crossover that's made for converting a truck harness to car. I don't know, but I mean a truck fuel rail. But the point is that, you know, we're trying to save money and do things ourselves as much as possible. For the time being, the car isn't going anywhere, so this ugly thing can stay, and we can test out our car and see how we do. So we're still waiting on a few parts. We're waiting on our push lock adapter here to run the fuel lines to the back. We have to decide how we're going to go about doing that. If we're going to go down and underneath the car or run the fuel line through the car. I think these are the stock fuel lines here, I think. But at any rate, we've got a lot to do here still. We've made some fantastic progress. I'm pretty happy with myself. These injectors, there's 4. There's not all 8 in there. Just each corner, just to kind of like place it. Those things are locked in good. They're not going anywhere. So I am very, very happy with that right now for today's work. We also made a little bracket here to bolt into these 2 bolts here, and then we're going to be welding the Subaru throttle cable bracket right here, which is attaches to this cable here, to this little plate we made that we've already pre-cut so that it's in line with this this radius here, so it's not pulling off the side and fraying the cable over time. It's more like this, just in line. And we also made sure to angle it down in line with the cable itself, so it's not doing this number. We want to make sure that it'll last us a while. So we have all that measured out and cut already. So once we weld that in place, we're going to put that in place, and that'll be another thing that's out of the way for a while. So it's pretty exciting stuff. I mean, every little thing we're doing right now is just getting us closer and closer and closer to actual startup. We still have to finish the third and fourth run of modifications to the oil pan, but we'll get there. I got to locate the rest of my spark plug wires. I put them away somewhere. But we got to torque a few things down still. These things aren't all locked in place, like the manifolds, or the exhaust manifolds. We also went ahead and installed our Willwood aftermarket clutch master cylinder here. You can see it right here. It's probably the shortest thing you can get your hands on, and you need every bit of space in here. You can't just use a 90 out of this thing. It takes up too much space, so we used the banjo. And even then, we had to, I hooked up my shop lift to a strap underneath this and just pulled up to try and bend the firewall ever so slightly back and get us a little space here. And it's not much, it's like a finger width or less. So hopefully, with the motion of the drivetrain and the car and everything else, that doesn't move too much. If not, we'll have to give it some more tough love and pull it up again. This is a really nice little setup though here. It's got this little cap here. I have yet to strap it down. I will, but as well as these will get ties. But it has a remote reservoir that I chose to use these stock holes in the fender well here to mount. I mean, you only need one. It's not going anywhere. And then we're waiting on some other goodies that are going to go in here. Obviously, if you know anything about this car, the stock stuff's not going back in there. It's huge, it's heavy. But as soon as that stuff comes in, we'll get busy on that. But we've made a lot of progress. We got our Chase Bay's clutch line here hooked up. We're gonna route this and then tie it to some of these things back here to kind of give it a little bit of support. But then we have our remote bleeder line sitting right here. I don't think this is where I'm gonna leave it. I'm probably gonna tie it up someplace in the tunnel. But yeah, it's all coming together. Little by little. I cannot wait to figure out where we're going to put our battery and give this thing a test fire. I mean, obviously you're not going to be letting it run very long because there's no water system or anything like that, but at the very least, we know that this baby's good to go. Anywho, that is our update for today. I may check back in later when we have this bracket welded and installed, and then there should be some more videos coming out this week as we continue to modify and finish up our oil pan and get this baby fire ready. I got this new harness as well off of eBay, and it was $300 something, fairly affordable. I'm actually quite satisfied with the quality. It's got everything that we need. The only thing that's not on this harness that I'm a little bit unhappy about is it doesn't have any provisions for this stock oil pressure sender back here. So we're gonna have to figure out how to wire that separately, get it power, tie it into the harness, and then and then tie it into the OBD2 port, because that's what we're going to be using as our display, is an OBD2 Bluetooth connected tablet or phone of some kind. We're not going to be using any kind of dash nonsense. So we're going to see what we can do. The last resort, we go mechanical, but I'd much prefer to use the the oil pressure sender that we purchased. But it wouldn't be the first amount of money that we wasted as we went along this course. So yeah, that's where we're at, and we will check in with you guys later. Take it easy. Morning, guys. Another busy morning. So look at, hey, I mean, I'm sure that's gonna need adjusting, but hey, we got a throttle. Fucking cool. I mean, when it comes to a long project like this, it's the little things, really. Definitely the little things. So we just finished hopefully making our last oil pan mods. So I know it looks wonky as shit, but we took our measurements and all of that should fit. We're leak testing it right now, and near as we can tell, we're leak free, which is good. So we ended up having to remove the majority of this side in the front here. Oh, sorry, here. This side in the front here, due to the, I don't know if you can see them right there, the rack and pinion mounts. Those two empty spaces there, all Tetris looking like, on the bottom, right there. Yeah, those two. So they were hitting the oil pan's wings up here in the front. Not here, but way back here in the front. And we had to cut out this whole chunk. And so we were left with this stupid little knob right here in the middle that might have held maybe a small cup of oil. And I was like, you know what, for that, let's just lop it off. And we added 4 inches of space here. And we took our measurements before, and we made our cut back there in the front here. This here. So this straight back cut here should have cleared us all the space we need. So I'm hoping, my hope that this extra portion here gains us back the volume that we lost by hacking off the whole left wing portion here. I know it looks retarded, but per our measurements, all of this should clear. Our only concern really is the starter. And I think the starter is actually going to block off our little dipstick part here. So that might make things interesting or challenging. That may need to be moved. But I do believe that we can deal with that later. But currently we have no leaks. So we're going to let this sit for a few hours, and then you know, barring any other problems, it's going to get bolted all back on, and hopefully we can fill the engine with oil and forget about it and just start working on the electrical side of things until other stuff for us to work on comes in. I mean, we just got our starter in and we put that in place, so near as I can tell, none of this here should be a problem. Here, I'll show you guys. I was a little worried about it. You know, in your head, the dimensions don't always add up. But as you can see, it's got, I don't know, maybe an inch and a half of protrusion there, where it's below the end of the block there. And where is my tape measure? You're doing a million things and you end up losing stuff. But anyway, we'll take some measurements. We'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, so we took some measurements, and the starter hangs down. You can see it right there. It hangs down about an inch from the bottom of the block. And we actually have about 2 1/4 of clearance. So we are well within limitations on this, so the oil pan will bolt up, and we shouldn't have any interference with that winged portion that's down here. It's down here and behind this mount. Now, so our other concern is there is no way anywhere back in here that we can get our dipstick in there. No way, not a chance. It's completely blocked, you know, the whole space. So, however, we do have the option of pushing it out to 4.5 inches, which comes right into this area here, just outside of the starter, right? So my thinking is we can put it, I mean, space permitting, we can put it towards the back, right here, and have our dipstick come up through here, or we can put it just to the side of the starter right here and have it come up through the pipes, and then we can mount the the mount to this bolt here. I'm not sure. I mean, it doesn't really seem like the best place for it in my mind. You know, I mean, I figure it's gonna have to come up, and then bend in towards the block to try and keep it as far away from these headers as possible, and then come up and through here. And I mean, I'm really not seeing any other viable options. We can always have it come up, bend forward, and take this long path and then come up right here. That may be possible. I mean, it all depends on how much we have to work with on the dipstick. I mean, and then we have to figure out the depth and all that stuff to begin with anyway. I'm not even sure how to tune that or do that to figure out, you know, how low to full. I mean, we still got to put in the oil cooler into the loop, so we have to figure out how much volume that's going to swallow. This is going to be a hog, I think, with you know, quite a bit of oil in it. But hopefully more volume means reduced temperatures. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we're getting there. You know, we're figuring out these little annoying things. You know, so yeah. That's what I think I'm going to end up doing, though, is putting it on the outside of the starter as far forward as possible. I already marked it out, so it would be along this line, this axis here, and I think that I'm going to cut this off here, block it off, and then put it right there as far forward as possible. There's no baffling or anything in the way here that should intrude, so this should be sufficient. Just put it right there, and then we'll work with what we got, or what we can from that point forward, because I'd like to be able to reinstall this and not have to pull it off again, ever, at least for a long time. So alright, we will pester you guys later. But that is where we are at the moment. Oh, yeah, as I was playing around with the throttle cable earlier, but we did finish our little mount. So this bolt is actually a part of the whole thing now. I had to hammer it to get it back in there, but I'm very happy with our alignment, with the angles. Noticing there's no kinking, it's just a direct line, at least, you know, very little, and I'm happy with that. It's in line with the bracket. We welded the front and the rear, and then, you know, ground most of it flush on the back, but there's still plenty of weld on the front here. This bracket shouldn't be going anywhere. But all of this stuff here is tied in place. We just need to bolt down our intake manifold, which we're not going to do yet because we are waiting on our NOx sensor harness, the little sub harness that goes beneath the intake manifold on the valley cover, and then it's got its own little plug back here. Is it this one? I think it's this one. But yeah, once that gets here and we get that in, we can bolt this in place. But another reason we haven't bolted it in yet, as of yet, is to get that oil pan back in there. Once we're done with it, we have to take this engine off the mounts and lift it. And I just, the one thing that I do not like about the subframe has nothing to do with the subframe. It's the polyurethane bushings. They fight, and I mean they fight you like hell. They do not want to let you get that second bolt in. You know, one bolt's fine, the other one is just a big bag of, you know, go fuck yourself, we're not doing it, you know. So getting those in there, huge pain in the ass. So I will be very satisfied to get that pan on there and lock this in place and just not have to fuck with it again for a long time. Hopefully any repairs or changes I have to make, I could just drop the whole subframe and pull it on out and not have to deal with, you know, lift the engine by itself, because it's just a beast getting that thing in there. You really have to wrestle it. But yeah, so we're getting closer every day. You know, we still haven't figured out what to do with that crossover tube, but we're going to work on that. But right now that's like a low priority item because it is functional as it is. I think our next task is going to be getting a hold of ourselves some angle iron, like 1/8 inch thick angle iron or something like that, and making us our frame to mount our fuel cell in here. because the last couple bits of our system should be coming in fairly soon here. I mean, I think we're only missing like the push lock fitting, and yeah, the fuel pressure regulator slash filter, our third filter. I mean, it couldn't hurt. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, in a lot of different areas, we're getting real close. I mean, next, you know, we'll have to sheet metal this back in and then fix our transmission tunnel, and then, you know, truck bed liner, this entire subfloor here, the flooring of the car, and get some cheapo depot racing seats. If we can finish this back frame here, I mean, a lot of smaller items that should be one-day jobs. Anywho, we will check back in with you guys in a bit. Bye. So we're having to pull the engine out for the 50 billionth time. So my measurements for the oil pan were almost dead on. Almost. That's the key operating word here. So the right side clears spectacularly because we hacked off all that crap over there and there's nothing in the way. However, the left side was quite a bit closer in tolerance than I had envisioned. I may have goofed on measurements somewhere there. I mean, it still clears. There's still plenty of space. I'm happy with it, especially back here as well. It clears. No problems. We moved the dipstick hole to up here. Yeah. Anyway, the issue is, if you can see right over there, that notch on the left side of the pan, right there is the oil drain. Anyway, so it was hitting the subframe there, so we hacked it off in place using a sawzall. Those things are really, really useful for getting into tight places, and they cut faster and more efficiently in my mind than the cut-off wheels on the grinders. I like them a lot. They have their own set of dangers, you know. I mean, the blade is reciprocating, so if it hits anything on the end of it, you're going to tweak the blade, bend it all to shit, snap it off, you know, I mean, whatever. And it can come flying at you, and it's got its own set of dangers. But all in all, I think it's a much better tool. It's our starter clearance, as we stated. We got hella space in between there. Awesome. We can still get to everything that we need to get to. That sensor back there is still accessible, way in the back. You can barely see it. The bolts that go underneath here are still accessible. So, I mean, we're good on all that stuff. I mean, they get in there. It's a little tight, and it takes a little work. I mean, you're gonna have to use the hand wrench or whatever, obviously, for sure. But anyway, what I wanted to showcase was a neat little feature of this subframe. These mounts are like a huge bastard to get in. I mean, they're just so stubborn. They do not want to work with you in the slightest. I mean, I had to do all kinds of prying against the frame to move things around to get them in, as you can see here with all the scuff marks that we're gonna have to fix later. But I mean, they are so stubborn. But the interesting thing about this is you can leave all the stuff in place and just pick the engine up and move it. You just take off these 4 bolts here, 1, 2, and then on the other side the other 2, that's 4 bolts, and drop out the entire assembly complete. That's pretty convenient for change out, swap out, you know, working on things. You don't have to worry about, you know, messing with tolerances and wrestling with, you know, I need to take this off and take this off and take this off to get this off to get this out, right? Just drop it. It can be done with a jack, you know. If something bad goes with something critical happened with the engine or something like that, and we were out in the field or at an event, we could just drop it with a jack, you know, and then get busy. So I kind of like it. It's a pretty interesting design. So yeah, we're gonna pull this bastard out and fix that little thingy thing, and then I don't know, I may just take this whole engine and set it aside somewhere for the time being, you know, inside the cradle and all, and then which should give me space to work on some of the other things that I need to work on. So we'll see. But anyway, for now we got to continue moving this out and out of the way and fix that no spot on the oil pan, because that's today's goal, and then we'll move along from there. Alright, we're back. Now that was a lot more challenging and took a lot more time than we thought. But we got this one nicely capped off. I made sure to build it up high, grind it down, and build it up again, and then round everything out. It's not pretty, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a solid cap. And then we got our, there we go. Our new bung welded up right there. Again, not so pretty, but it's in a very challenging position, and it gave us a spot of trouble. But we got it in there, and it's all sealed up. So, you know, my advice to you guys is, you know, like, don't shy away from the challenging stuff. Like, there are plenty of ways that I could have done this in an easier fashion. You know, remove the pan again, pull the engine out so it's free and clear. Obviously, I didn't weld this with it tucked up and things like that. I used a ratchet strap here and then pulled everything up, and it gave me the space I needed, about another 1.5 inches to weld that up. But the thing about it is like, if you want to get good at welding, you want to get good at, you know, your trade, or just hobbyist, whatever, pick the hard parts, you know. Don't shy away from dirty repairs or challenging positions and all that kind of stuff, because that's the only way that you're going to get better at it. So, yeah, I figured I'd give you a better view of our setup. Now, all of these little spots here, they're not holes, they're just places where there was a gouge or something that I didn't particularly like. You can see all my notes on here still. But I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we were tight, and that down the road there weren't any possibilities of a leak sprouting out of any of these thin spots, you know, from rocks and gravel and whatever the hell else. We're also going to get busy with fabricating a cover for here. So while this is up here like this, I'm probably going to get some cardboard out and make a little template for this underside area here. I mean, I could just buy one, but I have the material and I have the time, so why, right? Anyway, these are our tolerances. So we got plenty of clearance here and here. Oops, right? We got a fair amount of clearance right there. That should be way more than we need. I don't really see the engine moving side to side that drastically with these stubborn ass poly bushings. I mean, I could even move to solid later if I wanted to. Here, there we go. Plenty of room there. You can see where we accidentally hit with the grinder. Makes me sad. And then this is where the oil drain was smashing the frame, and I couldn't figure out what was holding it. It didn't even dawn on me that it was this little stupid thing, but it gouged this. So we're gonna scrape that off, and then I think we're gonna go talk to the people that did this for us and see about getting some touch-up paint so we can just cover these areas. In the meantime, a dab or two of nail polish will work just as well. Yeah, some more of our clearance here. Plenty of clearance on the starter. Everything else sealed up. That's our original dipstick location. We cut it and moved it up here, which that one came out real nice. But it's accessible. We can reach it, and we're gonna go up. I think we're gonna go this way into the front, or up and through the tubes, but we'll figure it out when we find a replacement kit. There are people selling them, but really the only thing that they have that's unique that I need is the fitting for the dipstick to the AN line. If I can find that, I'll just make my own, and it'll be cheaper, but it'll give me more flexibility to put it where I want. But we're gonna figure out a good spot for this. But everything else is clearing. I mean, we got plenty of, man, these are so pretty, aren't they? Oh, we got plenty of clearance. Yeah, so this bad boy's going back in, and well, I think we're going to torque our oil pan while everything's out and accessible. But yeah, so, and then over here on this side, there's no issues of any sort. So I had to, like, again, the whole winged portion had to come off because it was just impacting right here, and I would have had to take it all the way to the back, right here, right? And then seeing as we already had to cut this portion back here away to make clearance for the remote oil cooler for this, yeah, I mean, it made no sense to just have this little nodule right here. It's about that big, and that's probably about the good dimension right there inside my finger. So you know, maybe a cup of fluid, just a waste of time, so I just lopped it off. And we've already leak tested it. So everything here is good to go. So anyway, it's going back in after we do a few things, and we'll get back to you guys. Hey guys, look what we got. A box. Alright, realistically, it's not the box, it's what's inside. So, we got ourselves a handy dandy box from Chase Bays. We've been waiting on this for about a month now. Highly reputable company. I like their products, not necessarily the weight. But from what I understand, or at least my experience anyway, they tend to ship out most of their stuff almost immediately. They just ran out of a bracket or something like that, and rather than sending out what they had, I had to wait for the entire kit. And what are you gonna do? So, oops, maybe focus. So we got ourselves brake lines, aftermarket brake lines, stainless braided, coated in black. Dig it. We picked up their BDE kit. Almost sounds like something naughty. One second, let me put this down real quick. Enjoy the views of the cardboard. Oops. Losing parts already? Awesome, awesome. Okay. So, we ordered their, we wanted to get rid of the, all the ABS crap in that car. Doesn't work anyway, so why have it? And in the process, we came across this. This is their brake booster eliminator kit. I mean, most of the older cars didn't have a brake booster, so it's kind of, this is kind of like a carryover, I guess, for the older stuff. But from what I understand, you know, cars that don't run a brake booster have more of a feedback. There's more pedal feel. I mean, granted, you know, it takes a little bit of a firmer mashing of the pedal, you know, but it should be interesting and useful. It's new, and then, you know, it also cleans up our engine bay and gets rid of, you know, like 30 pounds of crap. So that's what we decided to do. And then here we have the lines for this kit. Sadly, no instructions, but we will figure this out. Anywho, I think we're gonna go about trying to install some of this junk. Rather expensive junk, if I do say so. And then we'll update you guys on how this goes. Be happy to, I guess, run you guys through the process. So, you know, if you guys decide to buy it, you know exactly what you're getting into. Because it did not look overly simple. It looked a little bit complicated. We bought some additional tools that we may or may not need, but hopefully we're prepared and we can run through this in a rather, well, in a quick manner. Anyway, we will be back. Alright guys, so I know this looks like a jumble of shit, but well, we've made some good progress. So our little adapters came in for our injectors because we have the Delphi, the truck injectors, and this harness is set up for the newer type. So I'm trying to scavenge whatever I can. So we got these adapters here. They were $12 and they worked perfectly. We found the O-rings from our gasket set, and we changed out both sets of O-rings for the top feed and the bottom part of the injectors themselves. Everything's bolted into place. So all this right here, this engine stuff, that should be done. Our push fit adapter and fitting came in. I'm not sure about the quality. I'm a little concerned as to how well this will hold in the pressure. But we'll find out, you know. We start this bitch up, or at least when we get there, we're still a ways off. And fuel goes everywhere. I guess that answers that question. And then we'll find a better solution. Because they have another kind, it's like a two-piece. The collar goes over this portion, and then there's a portion on the back that threads in and pulls it all together nice and tight. And, you know, maybe I need to go that route, but we'll see. So we got our oil cooler. That is not where it's going to go. That is just its temporary sitting place because we have not done our front end yet. We will be getting to that shortly. It's just a matter of getting materials. You know, sounds simple enough, but when you don't have a truck, what can you do? So anyway, we got one line that comes out of the oil pan on the bottom side, and it goes under here. I want to like run it along the length of the rack and pinion. I tried, Googling, good routing paths or whatever, and everybody seems to just do it willy-nilly. Nobody had any direct answers, so this is what we're doing. And anyway, so it comes up on this side here and goes into the back of the filter. The filter shoots out to the cooler, which will be right here, and then the return line goes back. And, well, no, I got that backwards. So the line goes in here through the oil filter block. There's an oil filter that's supposed to go here. I don't have it yet, but we will. Then it goes out to the cooler, and then from the cooler back to the engine. So it'll be filtered before it's cooled or whatever. I mean, I'm sure I could reverse that order, but that's the way I'm doing it. And then we got our fuel line pulled through the car, sitting right here. It's in there, but we got a bunch of adjustments to make. The original lines that I made when I was sitting back inside are way too long, and I want to fit all of my little ducts, my fuel pump, post filter, regulator in a row along that back ledge inside there that I'll show you guys tomorrow when I get to it. And then as it rounds the bend, we'll have our it's a fuel pump, post filter, regulator, and we'll have our pre-filter on the bend, and then the last bend goes into the back in the sump. And then we'll have a short return line coming off of the regulator to the tank as well. So I do believe we have enough line all around to accomplish this, given how much extra we have here. But I do believe that some of it's going to have to be pulled back in there anyway to make some of these adjustments, so we'll see where we end up. If I have to order a few more feet, no big deal, but we're getting there. And once I have, the oil circuit closed, the fuel circuit closed, then we can worry about a temporary coolant circuit, because I still have to get my thermostat and the housing. But once we get on that, we can button up a few electrical things. There's some things about this harness that are still perplexing me, and I really don't want to be in a position to start this motor without having some sort of a fuel pressure solution, oil pressure solution in place. If that means that temporarily I have to buy a mechanical gauge, because they're not very expensive, and put that in there, I will. I do not want to test fire this thing without knowing whether we're getting oil pressure or not. That'll be the surest way to undo all of this hard work I've done, and I'm not feeling that. So we're gonna get started on that, and more than likely that's probably what I'm gonna go inside and do right now, is order those few parts I need. It should be like another $60 worth of stuff, and then just keep on trucking. It'll be pretty awesome to get that first start out of the way, and then I can start worrying about the nice things. So anyway, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Just saw the Avengers movie, the Endgame, and let me tell you, bad ass. That is all I'm gonna say about it. I hate people that spoil. That's the most just rude and classless thing I think you can do. But I will say that it was totally worth the money. It's a fucking masterpiece. Anyway, we will talk to you guys later.